Buenos dias, all RGT85 here. Hope everyone's having a great start to your weekend. Mine has been cleaning bird feces off my car because every morning there's more bird feces and I clean it, and then there's more bird feces the next morning. I somehow feel that Review Tech USA is behind this, but you're not here to hear about my fecal problems. You are here to hear about video game news, couple stories going on that I want to cover. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. If you really enjoyed the video, hit the bell thing too. And without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. And we're going to start with talk about one of my favorite companies, and that is, of course, Sega. Now, I'm someone who grew up on Sega. I have a lot of love for old school Sega, and the current Sega, like, it's not great. Like, there's a lot more that they could be doing. There's a lot more things that they should be focused on rather than what they are indeed focused on, trying to get into this metaverse nonsense. Like, focus on quality games and then worry about that stuff. I, of course, made a detailed video about how to make money if you are Sega. Just my opinion. Obviously, I don't expect a huge company to listen to some idiot like me, but I just wanted to get that information out there because I thought it was a fun topic. Well, Sega had their financial report briefing the other day, and they actually said something very interesting that a lot of people are starting to talk about, so I kind of want to go over this information with you guys as well. So basically what Sega said was the core strategies of the new medium-term plan center around digging deeper into key existing IPs like Sonic, Phantasy Star, Yakuza, Persona, and Total War, and offering these to global markets. We're also taking up the challenge of super games within 5 years. Also, given our large pool of IPs that have enjoyed strong global recognition, we will actively leverage past IPs and further develop them. That is, by means of remasters, remakes, reboots, etc. Now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff to unravel with that. I feel like two of their best franchises right now are indeed Yakuza and Persona in terms of sales, so that's good that they are, sort of focusing on those. The super games thing, I don't like it. Like, I don't know. It just seems like an absolute waste of money, and it's not a risk that I feel like Sega should be taking at this point in time, because the whole point of it is you need to be making money to be making better video games. But of course, the last bit of information is arguably the most interesting, because they're talking about leveraging old IPs, because look at Sega's IP list. They have quite a few of them that have been dormant for a while, and doing things like remasters, reboots, remakes, so on and so forth. And on the surface level, I absolutely love this. This is exactly what Sega fans want. We want to see things like this. And of course, this information is saying that these things will be happening before March of 2023. So is Sega working on a bunch of reboots and remasters and fun things for video game fans, especially from the Sega era? I want to believe that they are doing that. I want to believe that that's their goal, that's their mission with this, but there's a problem. And the problem is, I feel like I've talked about this before with Sega saying in things like these financial reports that, yeah, we're going to do remasters and reboots and remakes and stuff. It seems like every year they say the same thing, but what ends up happening is nothing. Nothing. Like, are we counting Sonic Origins as this? Is this your big reboot, your big remake, remaster? Like, I just feel like Sega says this all the time. They're constantly saying that they're going to be looking at reboots and remakes and remasters and bringing back the classic IPs, which excites people. And then we get to presentations from them and it's like, where the hell are the games? Where is everything that you are teasing and promising with this? So I don't know. I want to believe them. I want to believe them because you look at this freaking, Shining Force, Virtua Fighter, House of the Dead did, of course, get a reboot. They didn't really do that. It was Forever Entertainment, but I will give them credit for that. Just so many Fighting Vipers. You can get even like deeper into the catalog, Burning Rangers. Like, there's so many games. There are so many Sega games that you could do something with, but you choose not to. So I'm hoping that they do pursue this. I am hoping that this is actually their plan and this is what they're going forward with, and it's not just some bubbly PR talk, because Sega fans deserve this. We deserve a win. It's been a long time since we've gotten a concrete W from you guys, and I feel like this is a great opportunity to do that. Obviously, actions speak louder than words, so I'm hesitant, but I'm hopeful. And I do hope that Sega does manage to do something like this, because I think it would be really good. So let me know in the comment section down below what IPs you would like to see Sega bring back. Of course, there's talks of Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio being a part of this. What the hell is it called? Super games. But beyond that, what are the other IPs you'd like to see return? Let me know in the comments down below. Before we get into the next Before we get into the next segment, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, who's arguably my favorite sponsor because not only do they send me money, but they send me food. HelloFresh. What is HelloFresh? Ooh, I'm glad you asked. When it comes to eating food, I'm kind of a Neanderthal. Gas station pizza. Like, I buy these things because I feel like I can't cook. I don't have the confidence to make my own meals, but HelloFresh really gives me the confidence and really makes me make some banging meals. HelloFresh is a super easy to use and fun meal service that's up to 72% cheaper than eating out at a restaurant. They send you all the items in simple step-by-step recipes, and even an idiot like me can figure it out with the greatest of ease. HelloFresh uses all fresh ingredients and real actual food and vegetables to make an amazing gourmet style meal in a fraction of the time than traditional cooking mechanisms. And the results more than speak for themselves with a fantastic tasting finished product. And because all the ingredients sent are pre-proportioned, you have less preparation and less wasted food as well. So head on over to HelloFresh.com and use the coupon code RGTEATS16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. What are the gifts? Who knows? They are a surprise. Fool your family and significant other into thinking you're a world-class chef, or just eat a really dank meal with HelloFresh. And like I said, visit HelloFresh.com and use the coupon code RGTEATS16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. And a huge thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. And finally, during the Nintendo's financial report, there is, of course, the Q&A section of this event. Now, other people have talked about it as it did happen a little bit earlier this week, but I kind of wanted to wait. I kind of wanted to let it simmer a little bit and then give my thoughts on it because there's actually lots of information here, and I feel like some of it was a bit misconstrued by people who were doing the initial reporting of this, such as translation errors. Basically, a lot of people were saying that Nintendo was worried about the next generation and they were concerned about it, and a lot of people ran with that, but when you actually read what was said, it doesn't really have anything to do with that. It's just talking about the caution of entering a new generation because every company has that caution, but I digress. I just want to get into this information with you guys because there is some interesting nuggets of information from President Furukawa himself, and I think it's worth talking about. So here's the question and answer that was kind of what everyone was talking about. The upcoming software titles for the current fiscal year have already been announced to some extent, and I think one of the major differences from past platforms is that a rich lineup of new software is still being added to your library, even in the 6th year of Nintendo Switch. Can you explain the reasons for such a difference? Also, I think that a next generation game system will be launched at some point in the future. Historically, newly launched platforms did not always have a smooth transition from prior generations. Please tell us your thoughts on how you plan to maneuver to the next generation of hardware. And then Furukawa said the following. We've already announced some software titles that will be released through next spring. Unlike in the past, even though Nintendo Switch has gone through 5 years since its launch, I like how he sort of corrects the person. It's not 6, it's 5. There is still a rich lineup of new titles to be released. The biggest reason for that is thanks to the smooth launch of the Switch itself. We have been able to concentrate our development resources on one platform. On the other hand, looking back at past experiences of generational change, such as the change from the Wii and DS eras, we recognize that one of our tasks is ensuring the transition to future generations of hardware is as smooth as possible. To that extent, we are focusing on building long-term relationships with our consumers through Nintendo accounts. While we continue to release new Switch software for consumers to enjoy, we aim to maintain relationships across hardware generations through services that utilize Nintendo accounts by providing opportunities for them to experience our IP through non-gaming channels. So basically, he's trying to hype up the whole Nintendo accounts thing, basically attaching stuff to your Nintendo account that can be accessed both on the Switch, the next piece of hardware that comes out, and of course, whatever they do in the future with stuff like mobile games. And I mean, that's a smart thing because really when you look at Nintendo, their online isn't that great comparative to what else is out there. If this was a decade ago, sure, like the online would seem solid enough, but it's like they need to keep evolving it. They need to keep sort of changing things up with it because it's become a bit stagnant in what you can do with the online stuff. Some game, there's no universal format here. Some games you can do, in-game invites, some games you can't, some games that have in-game voice chat, Nintendo games you can't, you got to use your cell phone. So I feel like expanding upon that is the good thing to do, is the right thing to do. But where things get very interesting with this is the whole next generation discussion because of the fact that, well, I mean, I'm pretty much sure we're all in agreement that a new Switch is indeed coming at some point in time. They're not going to still use this same hardware forever and ever and ever because well, it's already showing cracks, it's already showing weaknesses, and it has been for the past couple of years. But as far as the whole transition is concerned, like, people made such a story out of that when it was really a non-story. Like, every company does get worried about the launch of new hardware. Now, speaking of new hardware though, here's where things get very interesting, because during this financial report, one of the questions asked was about a new Switch hardware this fiscal year. And in previous years, we've heard President Furukawa, when people ask about like a new piece of Switch hardware, that no, there is no new hardware in development, that nothing is happening, whatever. But this year, President Furukawa actually declined to answer that. Now, when you decline to answer something, there's a reason for that, because if indeed there was no hardware scheduled for this year, whatever that hardware may be, I'm not saying that's a full-on successor or even an upgrade, it could be just a variant on the standard Switch that we have already, that really starts to raise a lot of questions, because you don't want to comment on it, when in previous years you've said, no, there isn't, we're not doing anything, and of course that was what came to fruition. So I kind of have to look at this with a little bit of a cross eye, because could Nintendo be working on a new SKU for the standard Switch that we have now that does something a bit different than what's already on the market? I talked a couple days ago about the fact that there is a sale going on Nintendo Switch hardware in the United States right now at 2 major retailers, and I feel like that's a good way to phase out your standard Switch model and have something just like a Switch Lite, a Switch OLED, and then whatever this other Switch is. You have to imagine that it'll be a bit stronger, maybe even not in terms of technical specs or whatnot, but in terms of what it can do with things such as DLSS technology or some sort of upscaling technology to allow Nintendo Switch games to be 4K. That way you're not alienating the 100 million plus people who already own a Switch, you're just providing a better experience. And in the future of game development, you can have games that run a lot better on this revised Switch model, more so than on the standard model, which, like I've said a million times, we've seen Nintendo do this before with the 3DS. The new 3DS ran games better than the standard 3DS, and it was pretty much across the board. There was incremental upgrades. Games like Hyrule Warriors Legends ran substantially better on the new 3DS. So I think it's interesting. Could Nintendo actually release a new piece of hardware before March of 2023? Most people would say that's preposterous, considering that the OLED just launched last year, but you never know. You never know with these video game companies, because at the end of the day, let's be realistic. If you bought an OLED last year and Nintendo announced that they're doing, a revised version of this system that's a little bit beefier and maybe still has an OLED screen, I'm sure a lot of you would be trying to sell your OLED system or trade it in towards this system, and I don't think you'd be really mad at it, because you're not really losing out on anything, you're just not getting the additional benefits of this system. So what is going to end up happening with this? Much like the Sega situation, time will tell. The proof is in the pudding. Actions speak louder than words. So if we're going to get something like this, I think we'll see it sooner rather than later. And it'll make for a very, very interesting discussion around the water cooler at work, because I don't know, there's like water coolers at work. No job I ever worked at had a water cooler. Like, you just bought drinks. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to give me your feedback in the comment section down below. What is Sega doing? Are they doing anything? What is Nintendo doing? Are they doing anything? I've shared my thoughts. Now share your thoughts. I want to give a huge thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. Literally my favorite sponsor, because I get money and food, and the food is good, and I cook it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm the man. So that's pretty cool. Give me all your feedback in the comments down below. And as always, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share the video. If you really enjoyed it, turn on the bell notification so you don't miss uploads. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.